Your mind is not what you think it is. It is not a weapon. It is not a cage. It is not your identity. It is a mirror, and most people are walking through life staring into it with mud still on the glass, wondering why everything looks distorted. You see your world not as it is, but as you are. Every fear, every wound, every unprocessed memory, every opinion you never question, it all becomes residue on the mirror. And the more residue there is, the more corrupted the reflection. You think they betrayed you. You think no one sees your worth. You think life is cruel. But what if that's not truth? What if that's just smudged glass? The mind reflects what it holds. If you carry rage, the world looks like an enemy. If you carry abandonment, everyone feels like a threat. If you carry shame, even love feels suspicious. It's not reality lying to you. It's your mirror, and it hasn't been cleaned in years. Carl Jung wrote, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." That's the mirror. Life shows you you, not to punish, not to shame, but to wake you up, to say, look here, this crack in the glass, it's not permanent, but you must be willing to see it before you can clear it. But most won't look. They'll blame the mirror. They'll smash the reflection and call it justice. They'll burn the world around them because they're too afraid to face the world within them. This is the root of projection. When the truth inside you becomes too unbearable to own, you cast it outward. You demonize what reflects back your own disowned self. And every time you do it, the mirror fogs even more. But here's the thing about mirrors. They don't lie. They just show. It's you who refuses to see. Syphoria is what happens when the mind is too clouded to trust. When you mistake your coping mechanisms for character, when you confuse your trauma for truth, you don't see the world, you hallucinate it through your triggers, through your assumptions, through the patterns you never dared question. And then you call it fate. You call it bad luck. You call it, this always happens to me. But that's not life repeating itself. That's you repeating yourself inside life. A dirty mirror leads to dirty choices. And dirty choices lead to a life that doesn't feel like yours. So you numb, you chase, you accumulate things to feel valuable. You fill the silence with noise, the pain with distractions. Because if you sat still long enough, you'd hear the voice whisper, this isn't who you are. This isn't where you belong. You've forgotten your reflection. The truth is brutal. You can't love yourself if you've never seen yourself clearly. You can't fix a wound you've mistaken for your personality. You can't find clarity while protecting your delusions. Mental power begins where denial ends. It begins at the moment you stop asking the mirror to flatter you and start asking it to free you. You are not your thoughts, but you are responsible for what you do with them. You are not your pain, but you are responsible for cleaning the glass it left behind. You are not your past, but your past is still the dust on your reflection until you wipe it clean. A clear mirror doesn't flatter. It liberates. It doesn't tell you who to be. It shows you who you've always been underneath the noise. So wipe away the guilt, the bitterness, the jealousy, the victimhood you were rewarded for. And look again. Who is underneath the fog? Who is behind the judgment? Who were you before they told you what was possible for someone like you? Because that essence right there, that is the unfiltered you. Not the version shaped by rejection. Not the version armored by perfectionism. Not the version trained to perform for approval, but the one who remembers. The one who was born clean, clear, curious, wild. And that version isn't gone. It's buried beneath years of emotional mud. beneath fear that froze into identity, beneath narratives that never belonged to you. The good news? Mirrors don't die. They just wait. And when you finally clear it, when you finally have the courage to wipe away what no longer serves, you don't just see yourself, you return to yourself. But don't expect everyone to celebrate. Because when you start to clean your mirror, you become a threat to those still living in the fog. You reflect things they're not ready to face, and they'll blame you for their distortion. Let them. You're not here to dim your clarity to make others comfortable in their confusion. You're here to illuminate, to reflect truth, to be the reminder that they can clean their own mirror too. But that's their choice, not your burden. Mindset is maintenance. The mirror doesn't stay clean on its own. The world will throw its dust on you. Shame will sneak back in. Fear will fog the edges. But now you know. Now you see. Now you have the cloth in your hands. And that makes you powerful. So keep cleaning. Keep seeing. Keep becoming. Because clarity isn't a luxury. It's a requirement. And those who stay blind, they don't lack vision. They just never clean the glass. Clarity is not a reward. It's a reckoning. It doesn't arrive gently. It arrives like a storm ripping the mask from your face and the comfort from your hands. Clarity shows you what you didn't want to see, but needed to. It doesn't flatter your ego. It confronts it. It doesn't protect your excuses. It burns them down. Because once the mirror is clean, you can't pretend anymore. You can't pretend that they love you when they manipulate you. You can't pretend that you're fine when you're crumbling. You can't pretend that staying small is humble when it's really fear in disguise. Clarity is the enemy of comfort and the beginning of power. You can't evolve in the dark. You can't change what you won't admit. And most people don't lack ability, they lack honesty. Honesty with themselves. About what's no longer working. About who they've become in the name of survival. About the weight they carry just to feel accepted. But clarity makes you dangerous. Because once you see clearly, you can choose deliberately. No more drifting. No more begging. No more waiting for external validation to tell you it's time. Now, you decide. You decide who stays. You decide what habits die. You decide what identity you stop defending because it's not yours anymore. Clarity gives you the map, but it also gives you the burden of direction. You're not lost. You're just afraid to walk the path that your truth revealed. But do it anyway, because on the other side of that path is a self you've never met, and they've been waiting for you. Belief. Belief is the architect of your entire life. It's the voice behind every decision, the unseen force behind every boundary you set or fail to. Belief writes your story before you even take a step. And here's the truth. You don't believe what's true. You believe what you've practiced. Belief is repetition, not reality. If you were told you were unworthy over and over, your belief system adopted it as scripture. If you saw love withheld as punishment, your belief system associated vulnerability with danger. If you failed once and heard laughter instead of support, your belief system wrapped success in the fear of ridicule. But what was installed can be uninstalled. And what was repeated can be rewired. You're not broken. You're conditioned. You're not incapable. You're just carrying beliefs that were never questioned, only obeyed. So question them now. Where did this belief come from? Who gave it to me? Was it built from fear or from truth? And do I want to keep it, or is it keeping me? A powerful mind doesn't just consume beliefs. It curates them. It selects only what serves expansion, not comfort. It holds beliefs up to the light like a diamond and inspects every angle before accepting it. Because beliefs don't just live in your head, they become your life. You become what you believe is possible. You become what you believe you deserve. You become what you believe you're allowed to claim. Change your beliefs, and you change your reflection. Purpose. Purpose is not found. It's forged. Forged in failure. Forged in silence. Forged in the fire of everything that didn't work. Purpose is not a passion project. It's not a perfect plan. It's a pull, a gravitational force that won't leave you alone. It's what keeps whispering your name when you're trying to settle. It's what lights your chest on fire when you see injustice, dishonesty, or disconnection. Purpose is personal, but it's never selfish, because real purpose always finds a way to serve, not to please, not to impress, but to elevate, to lift others by lifting the truth. And most people miss it not because they lack calling, but because they keep asking, what do I want to do? Instead of asking, what won't let me sleep if I don't? Purpose doesn't beg for ease. It requires sacrifice. It asks you to stop pretending, to stop performing, to stop living in neutral just to avoid offending the status quo. Because you don't stumble into purpose. You bleed into it. You fall face first into it. When your false life finally crumbles and something sacred begins to rise from the ashes. It's not about doing something impressive. It's about becoming someone undeniable. And once you feel it, once it grabs you from the inside, you can't go back to living like you're optional. Resilience. Resilience is not how loudly you roar. It's how quietly you rebuild. It's what happens when the applause stops, when the betrayal hits, when the dream dies, and you keep moving anyway. It's in the moment you hear no and decide that it doesn't define your worth. It's in the day your world collapses and you find a way to breathe through the rubble. Resilience is not reaction. It's response. It's not just bouncing back. It's bouncing forward. Stronger, sharper, wiser. It's the ability to carry pain without letting it harden you. To hold grief without letting it steal your gratitude. To remember what broke you without letting it become you. Most people aren't weak, they're tired. But resilience doesn't demand perfection. It demands presence. It says, yes, this hurts, but I'm still here. It says, yes, I'm afraid, but fear won't speak for me. And that decision to stay standing in a world that profits from your collapse is the most radical rebellion there is. Discipline is love wearing armor, not love for others, love for the future you. It's every no to comfort that becomes a yes to power. It's every early morning, every unfinished craving, every ignored temptation that becomes the scaffolding of your sovereignty. Discipline isn't sexy. It's sacred. It's not loud. It's loyal. It doesn't promise instant reward. It delivers eternal alignment. You can't negotiate with a version of you who wants ease. You train that version. You lead it. You say, I know you want to quit, but we don't live like that anymore. Discipline is how you remind the mirror. I respect myself enough to keep building, even when no one's clapping. And that kind of self-respect, it's unshakable. Identity, you are not who they said you were. You are not the version of yourself that learned to survive silence or rejection, or the sting of being misunderstood. You are not the echo of their opinions, nor the shadow of their limitations. Your identity isn't fixed, it's forged. And if you don't forge it consciously, the world will do it for you. They'll hand you labels: broken, angry, quiet, too much, not enough. And if you wear them long enough, you will start to confuse the costume with your character. But hear this clearly. Who you are is not defined by what happened to you. Who you are is what you decide to build in response to it. If your past was chaotic, make your identity peace. If your childhood was unstable, make your identity structure. If your relationships have been toxic, make your identity truth. Identity is not history. It's intention. It's not a set of scars. It's the architecture you design from them. It's the moment you stop saying, this is just how I am, and start asking, who am I when I am no longer reacting? Because that's where your true self waits. Not in the rage, not in the numbness, not in the act you perform for survival, but in the still grounded, knowing that you get to choose again, and you must choose again. Because every time you repeat a pattern out of habit, instead of alignment, you betray the self you could be. Your mirror is clean now, so look into it and name yourself not by your pain, but by your potential. Adaptability. There's only one constant in life, and that is change. Everything else is negotiable. Your power is not in your ability to control the external, it's in your ability to evolve within it. Adaptability is the intelligence of the resilient, the grace of the strategic, the art of letting go before the world forces your hand. You've been taught that consistency means doing the same thing forever. But real consistency, it's loyalty to growth, not to comfort. It's the ability to shed a skin that once served you without mourning it as your identity. Because what helped you survive at one point might be the very thing suffocating your next evolution. And if you're too stubborn to adapt, you will mistake stagnation for strength. Adaptability doesn't mean you're flaky. It means you listen. It means you sense when the old system is decaying. It means you pivot without panic. Because your stability was never built on sameness. It was built on self-trust. The world changes. People change. Pain comes and pain goes. But you adapt without losing your essence. You bend without breaking. You move without losing direction. You rise without forgetting what anchored you. Mastery. Mastery is not dominance over others. It is discipline over self. It's what happens when wisdom and experience finally stop fighting each other and begin to integrate. Mastery is the calm in your voice when chaos surrounds you. The silence between your words that speaks louder than noise. The strength to walk away when your ego wants to win. Mastery is not about proving, it's about embodying. You don't need to explain your values, they walk into every room with you. You don't need to defend your path, your results whisper louder than arguments ever could. Most people want influence. Few want the inner architecture that creates it. Mastery is built in repetition. In the mundane, in the decisions no one celebrates. In the silence where no praise echoes. In the way you train your mind to keep showing up long after the feeling is gone. It's how you move when you're not being watched. How you carry yourself when no one is clapping. How you stay aligned when no one agrees. It's not about knowing everything. It's about knowing what matters and living like nothing else does. Mastery is freedom. Not because life gets easier, but because you get stronger. Climax. This is where everything changes. Not in the world, in you. You see now, your mirror is clear. You remember what was buried. You recognize what was false. You reclaim what was always yours. This isn't about becoming someone new. It's about returning to someone true, stronger, sharper, sovereign. You don't belong in the fog. You don't belong in borrowed beliefs. You don't belong in the cycle of performance and punishment. You are not here to be liked. You are here to be lit, on fire, on purpose, on mission. The world will try to dim you, but now you have clarity. Now you have conviction. Now you have a mind that reflects truth, not trauma. You've cleaned the mirror. You've shattered the illusion. You've stepped into the power that was waiting beneath the dust of doubt. So walk like it. Speak like it. Move like someone who has nothing to prove, only something to build. Your mind is a mirror. Clean it or stay blind. But now you've seen. Now you know. And once you know, there's no going back.